Hi guys, this is Sandra of the Alexandrite system, and I am here today with our friend Silver of the Ring system. Silver here also has a system-focused YouTube channel. They do a lot of really good educational content. Their stuff is what we primarily link new people to. So I will include a link to their channel in the description. We actually have another part to this collaboration on their channel. So check that out.
Double collaboration time.
So today we're going to be talking about the differences between systems. Even though Silver and I are both OSDD-1b systems, there are still a lot of differences in how our systems operate. And it really goes to show how even though you have the same disorder, it is still a very unique experience to everyone, and how it's important to know that you can find somebody whose experience is very close to yours, but you will most likely never find somebody whose experience is exactly the same as yours.
And there's a whole bunch of different flavors of systems. I think a really good metaphor that we were talking about earlier today is that each system is different, but it's all very clear that they're systems. There's a billion different ways to make a brownie, but you know that it's a brownie. It's just a different recipe.
The first difference between our systems is that we actually have some non-human alters in our system. We have Glow, who's a shadow person, and we more than likely have a cat. Don't really know the cat, but we have a cat.
Yeah. Where on the other hand, we're all human. We're all people here. I mean, cats are still people too, in my heart. Yes. Are cats still people too if they're alters?
Cats are beautiful people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But on the other hand, we're also missing another thing that the Alexandrite system has. We have no men. There's no one who even identifies with he, him pronouns. Even the 3 non-binary people in our system don't use he, him in their pronoun set. It's she and they, or just they, them for me.
In our system, we have a few different alters who use he, him pronouns, and Robin specifically identifies as a cis man. Lexi is agender but uses he, him pronouns, and Samuel uses he, him pronouns. I don't fully know Samuel's deal yet, but we at least know that he uses he.
The next topic that's kind of a conglomeration of 3 that we've noticed that's really different in our systems is just how frequently we switch. My system, on a good day, will switch maybe 1 to 2 times a day. And on a bad day, sometimes we can go a week or more without switching, just with complete dead silence. Whereas y'all switch 5 to 6 times a day on average?
On a really good day, on a day we have off, we'll switch 5 to 6 times. Oftentimes everyone will get their little hobby in or try to. On a bad day, we usually switch once. I think the longest that we've gone without a switch has been 5 days, and at the end of that I was just exhausted. I was begging for anyone else to take the front, and everyone was like, we're trying.
Yeah, and that limit for us comes right around 2.5 weeks, which is very different than 5 days.
2.5 weeks sounds like absolute misery.
It was. And it's gonna happen again at midterms. Not midterms, but finals this semester. I know it.
Yikes.
It happens every finals. I get so stressed, and I'm like, I must do all of the schoolwork by myself. And I don't let anyone switch for 2 weeks, and by the end of those 2 weeks, I'm ready for death, and then I fail my final.
Also, our switch lengths are different, where both of us can go for pretty much an indefinite amount of time as hosts, but the other alters in our system in particular, can go for maybe a whole day before they need to switch out, or before they fade out. I would say the longest that I've probably seen someone go is 12-ish hours.
On the other hand, our system, typically anyone who's not the host can tolerate much less in terms of how much they confront at once. I think the average among everyone who's not me is 1 to 2 hours. Some on the lower ends, some alters can only deal with 30 minutes in the front of the time, whereas I think I've seen Montana front for 5 hours at a time. So I think 5 hours as not the host with just 1 alter is the longest. Whereas, for example, after that 2 weeks of me fronting and I really just can't be in the front for a whole day, oftentimes my system will have to rotate between alters. It will go Montana, Lorianne, Mia, Lorianne, Lily. for an entire afternoon and evening, simply because one of them just can't hold the front for the whole time.
Does anyone besides you ever wake up in the body?
No. I don't think that's ever happened. Other people have gone to sleep, but I've always woken up. I've woken up with Iris once in co-consciousness, but I was still fronting at the time.
We've had a handful of times where someone else has woken up. We've had Ellen, Sunny has woken up in the body a few times. Marigold, that's how we met Marigold. And there's probably someone else, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very weird. Even, because we've had a couple times where, like, I've woken up in the body, and then, like, 5 minutes later someone switched. Because someone wants to, like, get ready for the day and deal with the morning stuff. But no one has ever woken up in the body besides me. Unless it's, like, trigger trauma nightmare TM. But I'm not including those in the pool of day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's an abnormality. We also don't have a gatekeeper or anyone that, like, their job is to control switches. Like, we have people who can control switches to a degree. I can control them to a degree, but it takes a lot of effort. Sunny can also switch people in and out, but only if they're in the front. Like, they have to be in the front and then go, okay, I'm going to bring this person in.
Whereas on the other hand, we have a gatekeeper who, if all else fails and, like, I really don't want to deal with something and two alters want to switch, but can't, like, for example, if both Lily and I are communicating and I want to switch out and Lily wants to switch in and we try to switch, nothing happens, we can always yell back in the headspace, Ada, please just facilitate the switch for us. And given, like, 4 to 5 minutes, we'll switch. It's not something that works all the time. It depends on a couple things, like both alters have to want to switch or Ada won't do it, or sometimes Ada just won't do it anyways. Also, we have to be in a good enough headspace to communicate with Ada to have her facilitate that switch. For example, if I'm freaking out or if I'm triggered or, like, God knows what's going on. If I can't center myself and then contact Ada internally to help facilitate that switch, Ada's not going to facilitate that switch for me.
So we both have external relationships. I'm married to my lovely spouse, Mads, and you have a partner?
I do have a partner. We're not married. I have a dear partner of 6 months, and the way our two systems interact with our individual partners is very different. For our system, I'm the only one romantically involved with my partner, and the rest of the system is friends with the partner.
Mads considers themselves married to a few different people in our system. I believe the running list is myself, Ellen, Claudia, and Dice. The list is subject to change as we meet new people.
Didn't Claudia or Ellen have, like, an engagement photo shoot with Mads?
Yeah, Claudia had wedding photos with Mads this year.
That's really cute.
In, like, the only time she was okay wearing a dress.
And even though my alters aren't romantically involved with my partner, most of the rest of my system is friends with my partner, and some are closer friends than other friends, just depending on how much they've interacted.
I think inevitably in the system there are going to be, like, there are going to be favorites. As much as Mads will say, like, they love everyone in our system, and they do love everyone in our system, there's some people that they just straight up don't know.
Yeah. It's like being a part of a friend group. Like, you love and support all of your friends in your friend group, but there's inevitably going to be people you click better with and people you don't click better with. And that doesn't mean that you don't love all of them. It just means that you interact differently with them. I also think it's inevitable that being partners with someone in a system means that you'll eventually become close with all of their alters.
Yeah, I mean, just by merit of spending a lot of time with them and, like, hearing about them and, like, you know, texting with them, even just outside of, like, talking to them in person.
Yeah. And especially if you live together, like, it's only a matter of time until you run into one anyways.
Yeah. Like, I only think that we went a month after knowing about the system before somebody, like, switched in and met Mads. That was actually Claudia who met Mads for the first time. And she spent the, like, 10 minutes that she was with Mads bad-mouthing me. We have repaired our relationship since then, but it's a good story.
It's so funny because my partner and I made it a whole 6 months without them ever meeting one of the rest of our system. And it's totally coincidental because there's so many times when they would come home 5 minutes after Iris had been playing Minecraft for 2 hours, or Mia would come home from therapy expecting to meet my partner, and they were just gone off doing something else. Like, I literally, like, countless times they've gone like this. And it doesn't mean they haven't interacted. Like, I've I know Lorianne and Mia and Lily have all had, like, hour-long text conversations with my partner. And Iris has, like, sent them screenshots of their Minecraft buildings. Or all sorts of cute little things and cute little interactions. And my partner is wonderful with all of my alters. But, like, by random chance, they've never actually interacted in person. And I think it is compounded on by the fact that we were apart from each other for 2 whole months during the summer. And the fact that we're at college the rest of the time, so we only really see each other in the mornings and the evenings, and not too often during the day. And during the day is often when people other than me are out doing things.
I feel it's really inevitable until one of them meets your partner.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna happen any day now. I tell them any day. They're just gonna walk home and someone else is gonna be out. It's literally this close. Like, literally yesterday, they almost ran into Lorianne. Lorianne was in our room, like, drinking tea for, like, a whole hour. And then, like, I switched out to try to get some homework done, and then they walked in the door.
We also have to make a lot more compromise in our system than you guys, because so many of our alters fight for so much time outside and really want to, like, make our collective life, like, at least partly reflect them. This is the big point of contention between me and Claudia pretty frequently. I think the go-to I talk about with compromise is our hair. Ideally, I would want our hair, like, relatively long, but Claudia has a lot of sensory issues, so she ideally would have it buzzed, and that would make me actually cry. So our current compromise, because we have to look professional at our job too, is that we're going to cut it into a bob again. It's getting a bit long. Ideally, we would straight up go half and half, just shave this half of the head and leave this half long.
Good. Yeah.
And there are other elements that we have to compromise, like who gets to or has to work, who spends time with our spouse, just a lot of little things that we just have gotten used to compromising at this point.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I feel like our system has taken a completely different direction with that. But for the longest time, I struggled with, like, blocking everyone out of my life and being like, no, this is my life. And even though I've broken that down, like, to this day, and, like, I've worked through that in therapy, a lot of the life that I've built up towards that are simply things that the rest of the system just isn't interested in. Like, we're going through college in a very, like, high-performing environment that focuses strongly on one aspect of study that no one else cares about. Or where, like, for example, something I'm going to touch a little bit more on my channel is the fact that I'm so deeply invested into activism and disability justice and mental health destigmatization on top of, like, what I do on YouTube. And you'll often see this reflected in my channel, and, like, I'm the one who talks the most on the channel. And that's simply because I'm the one who cares the most, and no one else really cares. So what has ended up happening for us is we've carved out, like, multiple little lives. I think my individual life is larger because I'm the host and I friend the most, but everyone else has carved out little social situations with different groups of friends they interact with. Like, Iris has her little Minecraft community where a whole bunch of littles from different systems come together and play Minecraft together. And, like, Lorianne has a friend group composed of, like, older alters in systems, and she interacts with them. Or, like, Mia has certain places that she likes to go hang out, like, up in the tree, or, like, do activities that are for her, and there's things that we've collected in our life that are for different alters. So they've, like, carved out their own little life next to mine. And it's very interesting how that's worked out differently than y'all.
Yeah, I feel like if we go back to the brownie metaphor from the beginning of the video, it's like we've got a big sheet of brownies that we've had to divide up into, like, different servings, whereas you guys have made, like, brownie cupcakes.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're part of a whole meal that you've made, but they have, like, each their own little thing.
Yeah, exactly. Something that really struck me is we were in class one time, and we're taking this concept of self class, and we were talking about our relational self to others, and Lily was fronting at the time, and one of the class exercises was draw how you relate to other people in your life. And Lily drew this very extravagant diagram of, like, people she interacts with. And none of those people were people that, like, I consider super high up on my list. And, like, my very, like, important favorite people in my life weren't even on there. Like, my best friend, gone. Like, my partner was on there only because Lily interacts with them. already, and like Lily has that relationship with them, but like Lily doesn't know my best friend. He wasn't something that even crossed her mind while making that diagram, and looking at that diagram and looking how different her social and relational self was than mine was just like really eye-opening. And like the way the social experience she's carved out and crafted is much different than mine. For anyone who's interested, this is the diagram she made. It's complex and I don't understand it.
We also have different hierarchies in our decision making. For our system, the most frequent fronters get the most say in our collective life. Me and Claudia get like primary votes on anything. When we decided to change therapists, a majority of the system voted against us, but me, Claudia, and Glow all voted to leave that therapist. It ended up being because we were the ones most affected by it, me and Claudia at least. We decided, well, we're gonna do it anyway, which isn't fantastic, but also the rest of the system understands that, like, they don't live this life as often. It's still their life, and this is still their body, but it's not something that they have to deal with as constantly as us. So, like, if Robin wanted to detransition, we would, like, veto that because Robin doesn't front and, like, won't front very frequently. So, like, why do we have to live with Robin's decision when, like, Robin doesn't even have to live with Robin's decision?
Whereas on the other hand, it's the complete opposite for us. Even though I'm the host and I think I'm out like a good like 70-80% of the time, I'm like fifth in line on the decision-making chain. Above me, we jokingly call a group of alters like the upper brain. Montana, Ada, Lorian, and Lily make all of the major life decisions that need to be made, and all of them can overrule me on any decision that I make. It's not actually put into place as frequently as you guys have to make compromises, but for major things, like for example, cutting off friends who might be toxic to us. Like there's times in our life where Ada has stepped in, and Ada's at the top of the line right there. Like Ada's decisions are final, and no one else can challenge them. So there's been times in our life where Ada's stepped in and been like, this person is toxic to you and to the rest of our system, and it's impacting our health. We are cutting them off. And I was like, at the time, I'm like, no, I don't really understand this. But the thing is, like, after they got cut off from our life, everything improved. And because Ada was correct in those instances, I've learned to trust their opinion and their decisions very much because of things like that. There's been times in our life where very similar situations have happened, and Montana, on the other hand, steps in and is like, hey, this is unhealthy for us. And I've ignored that advice, and like things have just continued spiraling downwards until I've gone like, oh shit, they were right. We need to be done. And because of that, it doesn't bother me that I'm not in the highest like chain of command when it comes to decision making, because I do believe, and it's very evident, that they have better decision making skills than I do. And that's just point blank. And it's something that like we've all come to accept as like a natural part of our system and like how we formed and how we interact with each other and our external life. And that's just how we work. And it's fine. And it's good. And it works. Yeah. And that's what matters.
And honestly, that's with us too. Like it works despite how often we have to compromise and how much we bicker about like both little and big stuff. Like it ends up working somehow.
Yeah. Like, smaller change decisions. Like, for example, if I'm picking out a new shirt, I still get to make the decisions to pick out the new shirt, and I don't have to consult the rest of the system because I'm the host, and I live a lot of my life like that. And that's also the cupcake idea, where we all have similar, like, different, separate brownie cupcakes. If Lorianne's going to pick out shirts, Lorianne will pick out a shirt that she likes, that I don't. So smaller things like that are part of just my individual cupcake life, but if there's something that's going to affect all of us, I have to go up the chain of command. And if I don't, they will get angry at me. Like, for example, if I'm going to do anything that affects, like, permanently affects our body, like, for example, dealing with the possibilities of going forward with transitioning anyway physically, is something that I have to have serious conversations with all of Montana, Ada, Lori, and Lily, because they make those decisions, and they help us make those decisions. And that's important. And that's what makes sure that everyone's happy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, going up the chain and talking to the rest of my system, and especially those 4 alters that help make all the important decisions, it makes sure that no one in the system is unduly affected by anything, and it makes sure that we all can continue life as happily and perfectly as we can.
So I think that just about wraps it up here. Make sure to check out the other half of this collaboration on Silver's channel, linked in the description below. And over there we talk about the similarities between systems and why it's cool to have in-person system friends.
Yeah, and how it's often very important to have those in-person system friends for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.